Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business Today with Phil Soper, president and CEO of Royal LePage. Thanks for joining us today, Phil.
Pleasure.
So let's talk about a report that you folks put out today on the housing market in Canada. Want to talk first of all, like in general terms, on the national scale. Where do you guys see prices going in 2024?
Slow start to the year, but growth starting in house prices, starting as early as first quarter, half a point up in the first quarter, moving through the year with an uptick in third, finishing the year at 5.5% in aggregate, all housing stock, the entire nation.
Wow. Why do you see a fairly healthy increase in prices overall for next year?
The correction, the post-pandemic downturn in the real estate market will have lasted about 2 years by the time growth begins again in the later half of the first quarter, which is the longest market correction we've seen this century, since the 1990s. So it's a significant one. And of course, it's so significant because the excess of the pandemic needed to be corrected for. And you add on top of that the inflationary pressures, which caused a steep rise in interest rate. All of that hammered the market. But the underlying strength of the housing market is driven by the number of people we have and what we call household formation, the number of people that are setting up their own household, younger people leaving their parents' home, people getting married, people having children, moving, and immigration. All of that is very positive. You add to that the capacity to buy, which is driven predominantly by income. Incomes have risen through the pandemic and over the last couple of years, part of the inflationary problem. Luckily, they're smoothing out, but they're higher. And people are working. Employment's still very, very high. Unemployment very low. So the capacity to buy has been there. The reason that transactions, the number of homes trading hands, have been so low is simply consumer confidence. They didn't want to buy a home today that they felt might be worth less tomorrow. So a tipping point needed to happen. We see that occurring really as we speak, and over the next few weeks, moving into positive territory where more people are looking for homes, and as demand picks up, so do prices. A little bit of a lag on prices, but we see it happening throughout 2024.
So what do you see in terms of MLS sales this coming year, and how high of an uptick are we going to have?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. Normally we focus on prices because in our research and public reporting, because that's what consumers care about. For the industry itself, obviously the fact that transactions were down 30% in 2023 was a very big deal. We see that picking up and growing at a gradual rate. We do see an uptick in the spring, probably starting in mid-February, but really gaining ground as we move through into the second quarter, April, May, June. And we anticipate a stronger than normal second half. Our forecast is predicated on a small cut to the bank rate in the second half. We do not see the major cuts that some have predicted. I just don't see it in the cards. And I don't think it's necessary. I've referred to this in our report as the Great Adjustment. And what I think is going to happen in the collective consciousness as we move through 2024 and beyond is people are going to adjust to 4 to 5% 5-year fixed mortgages. And they will erase from their mind those 2% mortgages available during the pandemic. It's not normal. 4 to 5% is low medium if you look over the last 40 years. And it's certainly possible to acquire a home with a 4 to 5% mortgage. I know you and I, when we were young people, we were paying probably 2 or 3 times that. So it's 4 to 5% is not an unreasonable mortgage rate.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about affordability. There's been a lot of talk about that in recent years, and especially in the last year with the mortgage rates going higher. But there's also talk about the prices of homes, and specifically in areas like Toronto and Vancouver. How do you see the affordability issue playing out this coming year in Canada?
There's some big themes here. If we look at some of the reporting, which is delayed, it looks at, for example, the most recent reporting on affordability from RBC was third quarter data. Even in the third quarter, we were seeing home prices declining. Not very much. We were talking about 1 to 2% per quarter, but declining. And over the long term, home prices in Canada rise between 5 and 6%. So if you look at the gap between where we've been in recent months, -1, -2, and normal 5 or 6, we're talking about 6 or 7% below the normal trend line over the last century. Yeah. So that improves. The other thing is incomes have been rising, more capacity to buy. And although interest rates are still high, they have been stable. So with stable interest rates, and what those reports are often based on are what are called posted rates, not the actual rate that people are negotiating with their mortgage broker or their banks. We look at actual rates, they've come down in the last quarter, and it's quite possible to get a 5% 5-year mortgage right now, not that 8% at the peak of inflation. So affordability, I think if we're tracking it in real time, is improving every week and every month, and probably will continue to do so through the first half of 2024. Then all bets are off. We'll go through a period, I believe, of normalcy, that 5% home price appreciation that people should expect through their lifetime, and then likely do some overshooting, and into 25 see home prices uncomfortably higher again. But affordability, it is a big issue. Governments at all levels are addressing it. Blame the pandemic. We saw a huge spike in home values and really gave back very little of that value. So, it's getting better now, but it's going to take some time for a lot of families to catch up.
All right. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, and we've talked about this in the past, especially in the past year, the supply issue in Canada. Where are we at with that? Are there enough homes out there to meet the demand?
There's a false sense of improvement in the marketplace, because with demand down 30%, it looked like supply was really improving. It was marginal. And when we return to normal levels of transactions, remember, immigration has added a lot of pressure on household formation. Our millennials, now our Gen Zs, are adding pressure on our housing supply. It is a big issue. It appears to have calmed down a little bit in public discourse simply because of the downturn in demand. When it's back, it'll be front and center. So there are some fascinating proposals at the federal level, and each province is taking a cut at it in their own way. I feel encouraged by that, but we will not be able to build enough homes this decade to meet the demand. So there will continue to be interprovincial migration. People will move seeking affordable housing. as opposed to the traditional move for a job. Jobs are a little flexible now. Housing, not so much. So we're going to continue to see migration in the country, and we're going to see affordability stretch. But people find a way. Housing is very critical to people, and they find a way. And I am an optimistic person. I do believe when all the levels of government are focused on this problem, we will improve it, even if it continues to be a stressful item of public policy for years to come.
All right, super. Thanks very much, Phil, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right, that was Phil Soper, who is a president and CEO of Royal LePage. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast, Taking Care of Business. Thanks for joining us today.